Welcome guys, this is Mr. Ndabezita once more, and we are still in C#. Now this time I want us to look at the advanced methods. So we will go to Visual Studio, create whatever you know that we need to create, and start working on the code. So what I want us to do, you remember lastly we looked at this, but that is fine. So let's just create a new project, and it will be a console application. Okay, let's just wait for this to run fast. All right, and as it is loading, let's just go through some few steps that we are guided by here. So they say using mandatory value parameters, so value parameter. And they say now the value of a method value parameter is stored at a different memory address than the variable that was used as the argument in the method call. In other words, the actual parameter, the argument in the calling method, and the formal parameter, the parameter in the method header, refer to two separate memory locations. And the called method receives a copy of the sent value. Changes to the value parameters never affect the original argument in the calling method. So we will investigate that. So this is a console app, and let's just call this let's call the project name advanced method concept. So let's just say advanced method concept. Good. Store that on the desktop. We'll just press next, and we will just say create. So this is exactly what we will be investigating when it comes to value parameters. So when I make the changes to this value, how will it affect the value on the other side, or maybe the value in the parameter that it is copied to. So we will look at all this and just try to see exactly how it works. It is so important that we understand exactly how this coding works. Very important. And we are going to allow ourselves to make mistakes so that we learn from the mistakes that we do. Just as we did in the previous ones, we are not just here to code everything perfectly, the code runs and you are happy. No, we are going to look at things and try to understand why things are the way in which they are. This is the whole aim and the functionality of these tutorials. Making mistakes, learning from our mistakes, and improving moving forward. All right, so it's taking a little bit longer time because I'm busy compressing some stuff here, but I know it will be through in just a few minutes, and when it is done we will do what needs to be done. There it is. The very first thing that we always do is to get rid of this. So I will just say okay, let me just get rid of that. Let me just create. Okay, what I want to do here is to create the following. So okay, but it's fine, I can come here, still fine. I can have that namespace, and I can just call the namespace X, and I can have a class inside of this class. I can just have a class, and I can call this class just let me just say P, because I I'm not gonna do a lot of things in here. This is just to create the main where we can run our code. So we can have this static void, sorry, static void, and I can have this main string arguments, and I can do this. Now once this is done, everything is fine. So I can just come here, add new item, and this is a class, so I can just name this class a parameter demo. So let's just say parameter demo. Good, and just add the class. So I'm not creating any folders now. I just want to have these classes in just outside everything. So there it is, a parameter demo, and it is loaded with the information that is required. All this is imported automatically when you create this class. So for now the class is internal, let's not worry about that. Now what I want us to do in this class, first of all, I want us to have some few things, right? The first thing that we will do, we are going to create a method, and we will call this okay, let me not create a method now. Let me just go, yeah, let me create a public void, public void. It's public, okay, let me make it static void, and let me call this method the display value parameter. So let's just say display value parameter. Right, now the method will receive one argument of type int, and this will be the quantity. All right, that is fine. So it receives one parameter which we call the quantity, and we initialize this quantity with a value of 777, or let's just, okay, 555, 666, 777. The choice is yours. And then once the quantity it's assigned that value, I just want to have a write line. So let me just say using static system.console. Good. And then once the value has been assigned to quantity, I just want to output something to the console screen. So I want to have this write line, and in this write line what I want to say is in display value parameter, and then just display that value. So I want to say in what now, in this method, in display value parameter, let me just copy that and paste, in display value parameter, which is a method, in this method quantity is, and then I'll use some placeholders, and then I can have a comma. So what is it that I want? Placeholder 0 is the quantity, and I don't have to format that to anything. It's just a number, it will be outputted. So in this method, I'm just saying in the display value parameter, which is this method, the quantity is a certain value. We want to keep track of exactly what is going to happen here. Now let me show you what we will do. So let me just copy the namespace, copy, come here, let me just press enter. Okay, and let me just do this. Right, and then let me just say using, and then let me just paste that. Okay, it seems like I did not copy things correct. So this, Okay, let me just copy this and paste it there. Good. So this is end main. Good. So inside of the main, I want to declare an int, and I want to say this is quantity and assign it a value of 4. Now in this method, the value of quantity is 777. I am going to my main and it's an int, and I'm saying the quantity value it's equals to 4. Now check what I'm going to do. Let me just go here and just copy this and try to paste it here. Control. All right. So in here, what I want to do is what? Now the very first thing I want to do is to have a write line. Good. And in this write line, what I want to do, I want to say in the main quantity, okay, I can just say in the main quantity, or the main in the main quantity. Let me just say the quantity is, and then I will just print that value, and I will have my quantity. So now let's keep track of what we are trying to do here. I'm saying in this main, in the main quantity in the main. Okay, let me just do this in the main, which is this main. Let me do this because it's a method, a static void method. In the main method, the quantity is a value of 4. This is what we are saying. Okay, that is fine. And then now what I want to do is to now invoke this method inside here, to call this method. I know I just used the class name and the dot, so I'm going, the class name is parameter demo. So I'm going to come here because I have the import. I'm just going to say parameter demo, there it is, dot, and there we have the method. Now let's check what the method does. It accepts one argument of type int. So I'm going to say, okay, that is fine. I have invoked the method display value parameter, there it is, and then I am passing in the quantity. Sorry, let me just do this. I am passing in the quantity value. Now let's check which quantity value is this. Let us check. The quantity value that we are referring to is this one. Very, very important. The quantity value is this one. Let's come here. I know that in the display value parameter, the quantity value, it's this one. All right, that's fine. Which should be received as an argument. So when I receive this value, look, int quantity equals this, and I am saying therefore the quantity is that value, and I'm saying in the display value parameter quantity value is that. But when I come here, because this method accepts an argument of type int, and what am I passing here? Quantity. And which one is this one? This one. Okay. Now once that has been done, what is it that I want to do? I want to have a write line. I want to have a write line and say in main quantity, in main method, quantity is 0, and I will have the quantity. simple, the quantity. Now I want us to run this and see exactly what is going to happen. Now let's check here. I know that the value in the display value parameter in this method, the value is 777. So when I call or invoke this method, the value 777 will be displayed. Where will it be displayed? In this method. So this method is going to print out in display value parameter the quantity is 777. That's exactly what it is going to do. But now look what we have done here. Look what we have done here. Now, because the display value parameter accepts an argument of type int, and we have assigned it this quantity, there it is. But I know this quantity of 4 will not be displayed here. Why? Because it already has a quantity value of 777 that is assigned. So let's just try to run this and check. Okay, let me just go and do something. I will be back in just a few minutes. All right, let us continue and see the beauty of coding. Now let's try to run this. Control F5 and see exactly what is going to happen here. Now let's check. This is very important. What have I done? In the display value parameter, the quantity is 777. Now remember I had the first right line. Okay, let me do this. In the first right line, I am displaying the quantity and the value is 4. In the main, the quantity is 4. This is true. We are in the main and the value of quantity is 4. Secondly, now I call this method. This method is not inside the main. This method is in the display value parameter. It's inside a class and it accepts one argument of type int, and I'm saying the quantity is equals to 777. And I want you to look what is happening here. When I click here, it highlights those two. So the value that you plug in here as a parameter in here, what is that value? That value is 4. I want you to note that the value that you plug in here, it's a 4. We are expecting that the value that is displayed here to be 4 because the highlighted value is 4. However, that is not the case. Int quantity, when you type in that value as a parameter, when you invoke this method, the quantity value that is assigned that has a different memory location, it's this quantity value of 777. So when you say in the display value quantity is, it will print 777 irrespective of you having said that the quantity value is 4, because in this method already you have assigned the value 777 and it's in a different memory location, because this is in a different class, this is a different method in a different memory location, and this one it's also a value in a different location in the main, just for you to understand what is happening here. So it will not point to this address, it will point to this address, which quantity value is 777. This is very important that we understand. Let's read once more. The value of a method's value parameter is stored at different memory addresses than the variable that was used as the argument in the method call. Now, the value that was used here as an argument in this method call was 777. So this value was used, not this value. So even if you can try and say the quantity is 4 as it is highlighted, no, it will not point to this value. It will point to the original value memory location from which that value is located. So from the assignment, the value that was assigned to this method was 777. So it will point to the original one. It will not point to this one. Very important. The value of a method's value parameter is stored at two or at different memory locations than the variable that was used as the argument in the method call. This is exactly what we are trying to explain. In other words, the actual parameter, the argument in the calling method. Now, the argument in the calling method is this one. This is the argument in the calling method. When you invoke this method, it will refer to the original argument in the calling method, not to the copy that you have passed. This is very important that we understand. It will refer to the original argument in its own memory location, because these two arguments, this one and the other one, are stored in two different memory locations. Now let us run this. I hope and believe that you have understood. Now we invoke this method. The quantity value is 777, and then we come again. In the main, the quantity is what now? It's 4. So the value did not change. Let's read. Reading is so important. So they say, in other words, the actual parameter, the argument in the calling method, and the formal parameter. This one would be the formal one. The formal parameter, the parameter in the method header, refer to two separate memory locations, and the called method received a copy of the sent value. Now they say, and the called method receives a copy of the sent value. Changes to the value parameters never affect the original argument in the calling method. Now, what is the argument in the calling method? This one. This is the argument in the calling method, and it is never affected. Please, let's see this. It is never and ever affected, because when we ran, we see that the argument was 4 and it was passed here, and the value that was passed was the original one. And when we try to print again the main, what is the argument in the main? It's still 4. So the argument that was passed in the calling method was not affected. We can see that it was never and ever affected. It remained as 4. Irrespective that you passed it here, it will not display that value. Remember, it will refer to the argument in the original calling method. And then, but when we highlight, it highlights this one. And then when we say we want to type again, or we want to view again, what is the value inside the main? It still remains as 4. So there was no change. So I want to reiterate this. This is very, very important. The value of a method's value parameter is stored at different memory addresses than the variable that was used as the argument in the method call. In other words, the actual parameter, the argument in the calling method, and the formal parameter, the parameter in the method header, refer to two separate memory locations. And the called method receives a copy of the sent value. So They say now the called method received a copy of the sent value. So this method will receive a copy of that sent value because we sent a value of 4. Changes to the value parameter never affects the original argument in the calling method. So the original argument in the calling method is never affected because the value in the calling method is 4, and when we print it out it's still 4, so it was never affected, irrespective that whether you tried to use this value in this method, that will not change because they refer to two separate memory locations. I just hope that you understand what is going or what is happening here. So let me just take a little bit of break and I will see you in few minutes. So guys, what are we learning from all this? Very important. Now, in this program that we have just run, one thing that we have noticed is that it makes no difference whether you use the name quantity as the main method actual parameter or you use some other name. It makes no difference whether we use this name in the main or we use the actual parameter from the method. The values are stored in two different memory locations, so it doesn't make any difference. In either case, the parameter received by the display value program method occupies a separate memory location. This is the crux of the matter. You have to understand this. Okay, Makeba Mlochwa. Let us continue in this code. And now what I want us to do now is to create something. Okay, let me just press any key. Let's have another class. Let's add new item and let's call this one the parameter demo2. Parameter demo2. It will be the name of the class, and let's just add that. And then I want us to see now exactly what is happening here. So let's just end the class. And one most important thing that I always love to import, it's this. So I love importing this a lot. Right. So in this class, there's something very important that I want us to do. Now I want us to create a method inside of this class. The method will be public, it will be static, it will return void, and the name of this method will be the display reference parameter. We want this method to display the reference parameter. So this is the display reference parameter. So right, so the method will accept an argument, but this will be a reference parameter. It will be of type int and we will just call this number. All right, now once we have done that, the most important thing that I want us to do inside of this method, let's have a certain number. So let's say the number, let's just say the number it's equal, and we assign a value of 888 to that. So we are saying the reference value number is this value, which is 888, and when you just hover over this, it will show you that this value is exactly that. So what is inside this argument value is this. Okay, that is fine. And once we have done that, the second thing that we want to do, we just want to have a write line. And in this write line, what we would like to say is just to say in the display reference parameter, the value is this. So we just want to say in the display reference parameter, let me just copy this. Let's just do the following. Oh, let's just wait for the compiler. Oh, something went wrong. Okay, let me just in the display reference parameter, because this is a method, so in this method number is, and let's just use the placeholders, and then I have a number. All right, so this is fine. I'm just saying when I invoke this method, take the number which is 888 and display that. So in the display reference method, the number is, and it will print that number for us. Now let's copy the namespace. So let me just copy this and let's go to the program. I think the namespaces are the same. Let's check advanced method concept. Let's check in this advanced method concept, so we don't have to import that. So what we can do from here, we can use, okay, let me not do that first. Let me just come here, and I want to get rid of this. Let me just get rid, or let me just comment this. Let me just comment this. So let's just comment that. And then now that we are inside of the main, the first thing that I want to do is to declare a variable int, and I will call this quantity, and I will assign it a value of 4 once again. And then I want to have a write line, and in the write line I'm going to repeat the same thing in the main quantity. In the main, the quantity is, so in the main method, quantity is, and I can just use concatenation here, plus, and then I will say quantity. And I want you to check what it refers to. It refers to this value. Very important. Okay, so once I have done that, in the main, the quantity is that. Now let's run this. Okay, before we can run this, let us invoke, let's call this method, which we call the display reference parameter. So let me just come here and say parameter demo 2 dot display reference parameter, and I know, sorry, that it has to receive a value. So what am I going to attach inside there? So I'm going to use the ref keyword, ref, so that it refers to the value, and let me just auto complete that. So ref and then the quantity. So which quantity is that? It's the reference parameter, it's this one. So I can use the ref keyword because I have used the ref here. You cannot come here and just say quantity. No, when you do this you will get some error. Why? Because this method argument 1 must be passed with the ref keyword. So this argument has to be passed using the ref keyword so that it points to a different memory location. And then once I have done that, now I want to have a write line once again. And in this write line I want to say in the main, so all I want to do, okay, I can just do this. I can just copy this and just paste it and see whether there will be some changes that are made to the value here. So let's just run this and see. We are just basically redoing what we did in the previous one, just using different ways of approach. So let's see what we can have. All right, let me just move this a little bit, come here, just go up. So remember I said in the main the quantity is 4, that is correct, and then I invoke the method, the ref keyword, the quantity, and now the number is this because it refers to the parameter in the original method call. And then when I come again and I say in the main the quantity, now look what it has done. Now the value of the quantity in the main has now been altered. The value, it's no longer 4, the value is 888. So this is very important that we see that. Now let's read what they have to say here. In the header of the display reference parameter method, it makes no difference whether you use the same name as the main method passed variable quantity or some other name, such as maybe a number. In either case, the passed and the received variables occupy the same memory location. So this time when you use the ref keyword, you are pointing to the same memory location, and whatever you do to alter the value of the value here, it will affect this. This is very important. So in either case, the passed and the received variables occupy the same memory location. The address of one is the address of the other. When you use the reference parameter, any passed variable must have an assigned value. You cannot pass a value that is not assigned. Very important. Using an output parameter is convenient when the passed variable does not have a value yet. Okay, we will deal with that later onwards. So what are we saying? We are saying this and this and this points to the same memory location because you have used the ref keyword. So whatever changes you make to this one, the quantity in the reference, even though it's 888, it will affect the value in the main. So you have printed first the value in the main quantity, the value it's 4. You invoke this method and then you have a value inside there which is initially 888. So because this points to the same memory location because of the ref keyword, now look what has happened. When I try to print the main, the value it's no longer 4 but 888 because they refer to the same memory location. This is one most important thing that we must learn from this. Now that is fine. Let's go in here and just do the following. Let's add a new item, and now let's call this class the input method demo. So this is the input method demo. Right, so let me just end the class and end the name space. Right. Okay, that is fine. So the very first thing that I am going to do inside of this class, I am going to create a method. So the method will be public, it will be static, it will return nothing, and I will call this the input method. So let me just say this is the input method. Right, now the input method will receive 2 parameters and they will be out parameters. So it's an out parameter of type int, and the name of this it will be 1, and I will receive another int, and then this one will be 2. Good. And then let us try to run this. Okay, let me just do something inside of this method. Now the first thing that I'm going to do I'm going to declare two strings. It will be string. I will call this p1 and p2, and initially they do not have any values. So I want to have a write statement. Now before I can have any write statement, I just want to come here to just copy this and just input method demo and just paste that in here. All right, good. So I just want to have a write statement so that you input a value on the same line. So the first thing that I want to do, I want to say enter the first integer. So enter the first integer value. Okay, and you will enter that value. Remember, it's an int, the value that you enter. So I will just say p1 is equals to read line. So it will read that, but I know that comes as a string, so I need to take care of that. So s1 is equals to that. That is fine. So I will prompt once again. I will have a write statement, and I will just say in the other write statement, I will just say enter the second integer. Enter the second integer, and you will enter the second integer value, and p2 will be equals to the read line. Okay, that's fine, but I know that the user is never going to enter strings, is going to enter values. So I'm going to say 1 equals okay, let me just import using static system dot convert. Good. So what I want to do is to say, okay, take 1 to int 32 and then convert the first one, which is p1. So now it will convert the value. I know that the user is never going to enter a string, is going to enter a value, so I'm converting what is inside of p to an int. This is just simple thing that we dealt with, and I will just say 2 equals to int 32, and then I will convert p2. Autocomplete, very good, very useful, of course. Now this is all what I want to do in this method. Now I want to go to the main, but you can see that this one has a advanced method concept. So in the main we still have advanced, so I do not have to import that. So what I'm going to do in this main, I am going to declare two variables of type int. So okay, let me just do this. Let me remove this. Let me just comment that block. So what I want to do, I want to declare two variables. It will be int first and second, and they initially do not have any values. So one thing that I want to do when I'm here, I want to invoke this method. So what am I going to do? Remember, you use the class name, which is input method demo dot, and I know I have a method inside there which is called input method, and I know that it has to receive two parameters which are out. So what am I going to do there? So I'm going to say, all right, that is fine. I'm going to say out first, comma, out second. So these are the two arguments that I pass in this method, and they are out parameters. So when you hover over this it will refer to that. When you hover over this, it will refer to the second one. Okay, that is fine. Let us continue with our code. Once I have done this, I want to have a write line. And in this write line, what is it that I want to do? I want to say after the input method first, the value of first is, so I want to say after input method, because it's a method. Okay, I want to say the first parameter or the first value is, and I just want to do this. So what am I going to say there? I'm going to say first. In the position of 0, I will have first. Very important. And then I will do the same for the second. So I can just come here, copy and paste. After the input, the second is, and I will just have my second. So what is happening here? Let us try to check when we run this code what is going to happen. I'm not having any values in first, I'm not having any values in second, but in this method it's an out parameter. So what is going to happen here? When I am here, when I invoke this method, it will first say enter the first integer value. It will store that, enter the second value. It will do that, and then it will convert these values the way they need to be converted. Now remember, they are out parameters, right? So what am I saying inside of this main? I am saying, okay, int, I have the first value and the second value. So when I invoke this method, I am saying out. What will be the out value that I will get? It will take the first value p1 and p2, and it will assign those values to first and second, and then when I use the out parameter, they already have values from that method, and they will just display the values. So the best way is to run the code and see what really happens in this code. Okay, here is a prompt. So enter the first integer value. Let me just enter 7. Enter the second method. Why is it doing this? Because I am invoking this method. All right, so let me enter the other value. It's 6. After input method first is 7. After input method second is 6. So this is very, very important that we understand what is happening here. So what I am saying is that inside of this method I have two arguments, out 1 and 2. I am declaring two strings that will be able to save whatever that the user types in, and then p1 and p2, they are responsible for receiving that, and then 1, please note, 1 and 2 are the values that are inside them. So p1 is stored inside 1 and p2 is stored inside of 2. So when you come here and then you declare first and second, and then you invoke this method by saying out first and second, it will take those values in your method, store them inside first and second so that it can display them here. This is how you use the out parameter. So guys, this is all that I wanted us to look at, and I will see you in the next tutorial.